Okay, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Just as a reminder, please make sure that your cameras and your mics are off unless you're speaking. General Lincoln, have you signed in?
Yes, I have. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Great. I just wanted to make sure.
All right.
All right, and just as a reminder again, if you would please turn off your camera and your mic if you're not speaking, and this is being recorded. So if you do turn your camera on, please make sure you have appropriate clothing on. General Kelly, whenever you're ready.
All right, I had to make sure I have my clothes on right. So in the spirit of lead, follow, or get out of the way, I think a lot of people want to hear from the MAs who are involved with the Space Force. And I'm going to basically turn it over to them without any further ado. Major General or General Merritt, Major General Crider, and Major General Lincoln. So over to you for Q&A, or if you guys have, I think there's an opening thing you guys are going to start with, but go ahead.
Yes, sir. General Merritt's going to start with a short briefing, and then we'll go into the questions and answers. Can you all see the slide?
You see a slide? I can't hear Jody.
Okay. Oh, here, I just introduced myself and nobody heard anything. I can see the slide if you wouldn't mind making it a little bit bigger, Connie. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jody Merritt. I'm stationed out at Vandenberg as a mobilization assistant for Space Ops Command West. I'm also the MA for the component commander for space. That is Major General John Shaw, soon to be Major General Deanna Burt. And Connie, it looks like it's still super small. The slide is still miniature on my screen. I don't know if that's something that you can impact. Thank you. So there's a number of us on the call who are able to answer questions regarding Space Force, but before we get into that, I'd really like to tell you a little bit about an initiative that we're working, which actually impacts all of you. And this is something that there's a small group of us who support the Air Reserve Forces Policy Committee, which is a reserve guard and full-time committee typically looking at policy issues that would impact, and hopefully in a positive way, each of your lives. And I was asked to do a travel pay reform look, and so I wanted to give you a brief update on what we're doing there. I've had some help from Colonel GM Kuzma and a large number of other players, but effectively, when it comes to pay, there's two sides of the house that you're aware of. There's the mill pay side and there's the travel pay side. And the travel pay side has really had a lot of process improvement, a lot of system development over the years, but nobody's really looked at it from the perspective of the member and from the hassle and the time that it actually takes for members to get paid. And that's really what this initiative is trying to get after. So this initiative has two sides to it. We have looked really at both the technology side of the house, and we've looked at the policy side of the house. And we have had a couple of process improvement events that have included a large number of people. We've got stakeholders from A1, A6, A9, FM, headquarters ARPC, and of course headquarters RIO, who have participated in these two events. And as part of the solution space, we wanted to be able to kind of get after some of the low-hanging fruit so that we can improve your lives and your ability to get paid faster, as well as look at some of the more systemic, enduring policy impacts. And in spirit of General Brown's accelerating change, that is what we are trying to do. First of all, on the technology side, and I'm happy to share our technology paper with this group, or if anybody has a particular interest in sort of the details of things that we're considering and looking at. We have a couple talking papers, one of them on the technology initiatives that we're trying to impact, a second one on the policy changes that we're trying to impact. But on the technology side, it's so hard for you guys to get your travel pay done. We all live this, and we all live the challenges with RTS and DTS and getting signatures and dealing with all the multiple systems that we have to deal with, and the changes in those systems, and going from one status to another, and how that impacts how you file your report. And so in line with that, oh, thank you, that makes it even better to see. I'm down on the bottom of that slide. If you want to scroll down, thank you. Yeah, so in line with that, you know, we're kind of opting on the left, Connie. Maybe if you pull out a little bit, that'll be easier. There you go. We're adopting a team of teams approach to get after this. So we've got a team that's looking specifically at how the data is extracted from some of these systems, and so that we can provide a dashboard for decision makers to be able to say, hey, you know, I've got 10 people in my organization who haven't been paid in over 75 days for their travel pay, and so that they can, you know, put some emphasis and added attention on those areas that might need it. As well as getting some data on the side that might help some of the FM people, some of the RIO people, to better understand if they make this change in a process, or that change in a process, or if they tweak a system or change to a new system. You know, how are they actually affecting the lives of the members? So we do have a data piece to this, and they are getting ready to get kicked off to build some dashboards and make the data more readily accessible to our leadership across the command and within the units, the RIO units, as well as within the traditional units, so that those decisions can be made effectively. I think we will probably be doing 2-week sprints on that. For the next at least 30 days, maybe 60, 90 days. We'll see how far down the road we get on this piece of the project, but that's a very valuable piece. The other piece is the actual automation of the end-to-end system. We've engaged Kessel Run, and we're attempting to get some dollars, which I'll talk about in a minute, to make some specific modifications, to add some wizards to the system, to automate some pieces of data flow so that the members don't actually have to touch individual pieces, and it will go automatically through the system, and hopefully trying to make your lives easier. If you can scroll over and up. Thank you. So just on the ongoing issues, I don't need to hammer on that a lot. You guys live this day to day. We definitely want to bridge some of the stovepipe systems, and the automation effort will get after that. And the other thing that we've noticed is that if we don't look at this from sort of a whole end-to-end approach, If we look at just these stovepipe systems, we're really not going to be able to address member issues. And there's a lot of stakeholders you'll see in the views for others on the slide. At the bottom, there's a lot of stakeholders with differing needs. But the intent of this is really to try to help the member. It's not to provide a tool for FM, not to provide a tool for the processors. This is really intended to support you, the member. The policy reform piece of it is really going to get after some of the barriers for our pay folks who are trying to do good things for you, but are restricted by the joint travel regulation. So we're trying to, within the scope of what we can do, get after that piece. There have been some significant changes in the AFIs. Since Secretary Wilson came on board, she had all the AFIs rewritten. So if you have not had a chance to go back and look at some of the travel and lodging AFIs, there's been some good guidance given to reservists and the ability for us to be paid as IMAs, since most of the people on this call are IMAs, the ability to be paid for those IDTs in a similar fashion that the units get paid is enabled by these regulations, which is a big change. What we're hoping to do, though, is actually get to something more transformational, like a stipend. So if you go on a couple of IDTs and you're living outside the area, rather than even having to go through the whole process of filing your voucher, we're hoping to actually get to a stipend type construct, so that as soon as your supervisor checks you in and says, yes, you've performed that duty, that you would be reimbursed for that. And of course, we're still emphasizing a lot of telecommuting and supporting telecommuting along the way, and that reform effort. If you wouldn't mind scrolling to the top right, we are in the process of rescinding a PIM. That probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but that will help our pay folks do their job easier, and hopefully will allow the team that's coming on board through a contract to be able to get the pay for IDT reimbursement through the process much more quickly. So that's a key initiative that we're working on your behalf. We are pushing to have Kessel Run funded at approximately $1.5 million to get after this laundry list of technology modifications, really enhancements, everything from wizards, especially aimed at newer members who are coming off active duty and have never had to build their own orders, all the way to simplification of systems being able to work through your device to upload photographs of documents that you might have on travel in a much more friendly manner, be able to attach everything through your mobile device and push it through the system through an app. So those are the types of things that the Kessel Run initiative will play out. You may actually get pinged to participate in the Kessel Run initiative. If most of the people I think on this call, because we're a lot of acquisition folks, are familiar with the DevSecOps model, where we've got operators working side by side with the developers. So I fully expect that they'll be reaching out to this community for vector checks to get your feedback. How does this look? Is it meeting your needs? What can we do to improve it? I see a lot of that happening through the Kessel Run effort as soon as we get it kicked off. We are also looking to fund project manager. We do not currently have a project manager assigned to this. So if there's somebody on this call who may be interested in that role, we're probably looking for an 05, 06 who can lead that effort. That would be very helpful. Please send your name to me. And of course, we are in the process of identifying the single AFRIC point of contact, somebody who's full-time at AFRIC headquarters to be an owner for this initiative, because it really does kind of cut across a large section of the headquarters and of the entire reserve enterprise. So that's pretty high level. I don't know if you guys really need to see the deliverables, but I'm super excited to work this project on your behalf. And if you want to go to the next slide, please, Connie. We've Colonel GM Kuzma, who actually is not part of our 6X community, but is part of the logistics community. He has been a fantastic help on this project and has set up this great do you want to be in movies? I think if you would go out and we could see the whole slide, I think that would be better, Connie. He's set up this mechanism by which we can actually get you and get your personal stories, your personal pain points as it relates to travel pay on video. So if you want to copy down that short link that's on this slide, if you have a pain point, we would like your story, and we're looking for 1 minute or less if possible. So you're going to have to talk kind of fast and condense your story, and we're going to put together a montage of stories, which is going to be shown at the Geo Forum in December, and which hopefully will tell the story of your pain, because there's a lot of members out there who have some really significant pain points, people who are out a lot of money and they're waiting for the system to chug and they're waiting for their ticket to be seen. So please do have an opportunity to go there and do that. Caution, that link does not work on your mill system behind the firewall. So you'll probably need to do that on your PC. It's fairly easy to do. You can upload your video from your mobile device or from another device. And everybody who submits by the 15th will be in the drawing for a Starbucks coffee gift card. So we're encouraging folks to submit their stories and help us to accelerate change. If any of the folks on this call are interested in participating in this or other reform initiatives like this, don't hesitate to send your name. There's always opportunity for people to get involved into great initiatives like this and help to accelerate change. With that, I think back to you, Connie. We'll transition to Q&A.
Okay, and was General Crider, were you able to join us, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay.
I am here. Absolutely.
All right, perfect.
Thank you very much. That was a great rundown by General Merritt.
Fantastic. Okay, so today we have about 6 questions that I received for General Crider, General Lincoln, and General Merritt to answer. So the first question is, will there be any reserve command opportunities for lieutenant colonels and colonels in Space Force?
So I'll take that first, and then see if others have anything to offer. So will there be any reserve lieutenant colonel and colonel opportunities in the Space Force? If that's the question, the answer is yes, there are, and there will continue to be. For IMAs, we do have positions being established here at the headquarters space staff at the Pentagon. Some 05 and 06 positions will be advertised here fairly shortly. Colonel Dave Yates, Nathan on the gal, is kind of our POC for those positions. So if you're interested in a position here at the space staff, Dave Yates is the right guy to talk to about what's available now or what's coming available, what we'll be advertising here shortly, so that you can be aware of those. Other positions out at SPOC, Space Operations Command, in Colorado Springs at Peterson Air Force Base, what was previously Air Force Space Command, just stood up as Space Operations Command. Also, there are IMA positions there as well. Not as many as we have out in LA, at SMC, soon to be Space Systems Command. That Colonel Lisa Johnson is a good focal point for Space Operations Command. Of course, we've got Colonel John Cherry out at Space and Missile Center as a great POC for what's happening as positions come available there. Then, of course, we have the NRO here in Chantilly, Virginia, and we've got Colonel Michelle Idle out there. So there are new positions coming on the books. There is some growth in the portfolio. So there's lots of opportunities for folks to move around, and we're eager to hear who's interested in and who is looking for what opportunities. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, ma'am. General Lincoln, General Merritt, did you have any other further comments?
Yeah, so we have positions already on the books and I apologize right now for not being in uniform. I'm in quarantine in Montana because I've been exposed to COVID. I'm okay so far, but you know, another week here in quarantine. But yes, we have 24 Air Force Reserve billets on the books right now at U.S. Space Command. Of those, 7 are 06s, 7 are 05s, and I have 5 04s. They vary from cyber operations, space operations. We have 1 Intel, we have 1 PA, and then of course we have the 2 MA positions in the J3 and in my position as well. So lots of opportunities. We're hoping to get more enlisted positions on the books. I know that we probably don't have any enlisted personnel on this call today, but you know that is one area that we hope to increase in the future. Over.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, I have a message here from General Merritt saying that she has no comment, so we'll move on to the next question. How do you envision non-space core IMAs 6X, 14N, 17D, and 3Ds being utilized in the Space Force?
I'll jump in first, and the answer is absolutely. The Space Force was stood up as a service that recognized the need for what we call common core AFSCs to be fully integrated into our operations. So space operations, 13 Sierras, 1 Charlie 6s are critical, certainly, but the additional expertise and perspective experience that is provided by our 6X community, 6.2, 6.3, is absolutely critical to our ability to advance space operations. We see more and more positions that are being sprinkled across our operational units, both on the active side, and we have reserve positions as well that are either called out as 6X positions or 16 Golf positions where these other expert AFSC folks that have these other AFSCs are encouraged to apply. And we've got lots of examples of folks that come from a variety of those career fields that are doing amazing things in what would be considered traditional ops. But operations today has to be enhanced by expertise from the engineering and acquisition communities, as well as ISR and cyber. So again, specific positions sprinkled across the units, sprinkled across the command level at the field command, as well as the headquarters staff. We need that diverse perspective, and there are opportunities for leadership that would enable anybody in any of those career fields to have an important leadership role across the Space Force. I'll turn it over to General Lincoln for any added comments there.
Thanks. Yeah, so absolutely, and even more so in a combatant command. For example, in our planning cell, our J5, we need people from all sorts of backgrounds in order to input their expertise in combat plans and strategic planning. Same thing with operations. We need intel, cyber, logistics as we execute our campaign plan. So absolutely, we embrace all the AFSCs amongst all the services at U.S. Space Command. Over.
General Merritt, can you turn your mic on?
Thank you. The traditional ecosystem that's been built around NASIC, around integration of capabilities from that perspective as well is gonna continue to be a reality going forward for a long time. The influx on the acquisition side, the crossover between all of the domains and how they integrate together, that is all going to be relevant and important to space, just as it is in the air domain. So having individuals from the different AFSCs that are able to bridge those gaps, whether they're actually part of Space Force or not, is going to continue to be important to all of us, and will grow with importance as we see more and more movement into all domain operations.
Perfect. Okay, next question. What is the future of space acquisition given the myriad of organizations that currently exist, including Space RCO, DIU, Space Development Agency, SMC, and the NRO? Again, what is the future of space acquisition given the myriad of organizations that currently exist?
Well, I'll jump in here on this one too, and then again turn it over to any of my colleagues that want to add additional comments. So many of you may be tracking that Space and Missile Center is going to evolve into Space Systems Command. As soon as we can get that OCR across the finish line, and will still happen this calendar year, may roll into next calendar year, but Space Systems Command is the next field command that we're going to stand up. It will be a 3-star led command. Within the Space Systems Command, it will have a broader mission than just the product center. The product center will, and SMC will continue to provide a core set of functions within that Space Systems Command. Likely not to have a separate SMC, but those SMC functions will exist within Space Systems Command, and the existing, Development Corps, Production Corps, Enterprise Corps, Atlas Corps will be part of Space Systems Command. There will also be an integration of Space RCO under Space Systems Command. Space Development Agency will roll up under Space Systems Command. The launch wings will come out from under Space Operations Command and become Space Deltas within Space Systems Command. So that launch enterprise will fold up and provide the access to space and the delivery of space systems, space capabilities into space. So all of that will be integrated under Space Systems Command. So I think many of the entities that were mentioned in the question will be integrated up under this single field command leadership, which will provide a great way to leverage the best expertise from across all of those different entities and to work in a very coordinated manner in collaboration with Air Force Research Lab and other outside entities across the Air Force. Over.
So I have to say, from a combatant command perspective, we really don't have a dog in the fight. Ours is a little bit different side of the equation. We really need people who can to write requirements. General Dickinson is making a strong push for really pushing the JSIDS process. What are the capabilities what are the intel requirements? And that's where we really need the acquisition and intel expertise to help define those requirements. Over.
The only thing that I would add is the combat development teams are still a thing. So for those of you that may not be familiar with those, they've traditionally been grassroots initiatives out of operational squadrons, and now on the space side of the house, they are looking at new ways to acquire expertise to help make their operational changes to systems sort of within the environment that they are operating at. So they're looking at Colorado Springs, at the space camp out of Colorado Springs, to be able to leverage that geographic location and the expertise there, and then to have an influx of not a large influx, but a small influx of dollars, so that they can use that DevSecOps iterative approach to be able to modify their systems.
All right, moving on to the next question. Will there be an opportunity for IMAs to move between Air Force and Space Force positions? As an example, can someone do a stint at AFL-CMC and then move to SMC?
Absolutely, and we encourage that. You know, one of the benefits that Air Force reservists bring is the ability to seamlessly flow back and forth across both services, and that's a real benefit. So just as it's a benefit to seamlessly flow within the Air Force across different mission areas, different commands, different levels of responsibility within a service, working across services, you can bring new ideas, you can bring best practices, you can share what's going on in one service that can help inform and influence the other. And we certainly see that close relationship between LCMC and SMC, and in the future SSC, Space Systems Command, being a strong one, being an important one. And the reservists will provide a very important bridge across that area. One area in particular that kind of relates to the last question, and also digital engineering. Engineering is an area that Dr. Roper has emphasized, and both Chief Brown on the Air Force side and Chief Raymond on the Space Force side embrace. General Bunch for AFMC, General Thompson for SMC, fully embracing how do we do all of our acquisition and engineering in a digital environment? How do we digitalize the process from force design to architecture to systems design and development, receiving digital industry partners, evaluating them throughout the process of development and testing on the test range in with a digital product, evaluating our digital products against a model of the threats and threat environment, planning for how we would operationalize these products or these capabilities before we actually deploy them into the ops floor or into space, and then being able to maintain that digital representation for sustainment purposes and ease of modernization over time. That's where we're heading. That's where the Space Force is rapidly heading, and we're partnering very closely with the Air Force and to do this in a collaborative way to learn from each other. So that's going to change the way we do acquisition across the board, and certainly reservists will have an opportunity to participate in both sets of activities across the different services and bring good ideas from their reserve experience as well as from their commercial everyday lives. And the work that you do outside of the military is always going to be a big bonus to both of the services. So again, it's what we do as reservists. We are able to bridge and exchange ideas and information across multiple organizations and multiple mission areas, and that's a big value add. Over.
Yeah, and I can add that this week, actually for several weeks, there have been policy groups, working groups that have been meeting. General Crider had mentioned Colonel Yates. U.S. Space Command has sent our J1, Deputy J1, Colonel Candy Steinbrink, with many of you probably remember, long, strong personnel background. So these are the very type of questions that these working groups are trying to answer, so that we have legislation that allows that cross flow to happen. Over.
There's also a follow-up question, I think, that Colonel Slocum asked, says whether there will be opportunities to command in the Space Force for Reserve 05s and 06s. So as of now, I'll initiate that question, and then I'll turn it back to you, General Crider. Yes, there are currently opportunities within the Air Force Reserve Command to command space organizations. I think most of you are familiar with those. But as we're looking at this legislative landscape, the possibility for an innovative future, for something that might look differently, it's probably a little bit early to say, you know, what the future of that would actually look like and how that would relate to the individuals within the reserves. Would you concur, General Crider, or how would you characterize that?
Yeah, I mean, we are very mindful, you know, and myself, General Lincoln, General Merritt, and other of the reserve general officers on the space side are very mindful of the importance of command opportunities within the Space Force for all reservists. So, of course, there's the unit level reserve program that provides those opportunities. Within the IMA program, you know, we are very mindful to try to make sure we establish and maintain good, strong IMA position opportunities that are tied directly to regular component commanders at the Delta level now within the Space Force, at the garrison installation level within the Space Force, and wherever, you know, there are command opportunities that the active component can identify an opportunity for an IMA position to be attached to. We're very interested and eager to have that. We have that in many of our, you know, at the launch wings today. We have IMA positions attached to the wing commander there in those launch wings. As those transition into deltas, I don't see that changing. We have some other of our key deltas that have IMA positions. Again, looking at making sure we can establish IMA positions affiliated with the garrison installation commanders. So we are very mindful and working as hard as we can to make sure we can create as many opportunities for command experience as possible.
Okay, another question that was asked, does U.S. Space Force have cyber needs? Where could partnership with U.S. Cybercom be useful?
Well, U.S. Space Force definitely has cyber needs. As I mentioned earlier, we have that just stood up within the U.S. Space Force. So one of the 06 level commands is responsible for the mission defense teams, the cyber defense correlation cell, supporting the ability to help protect and defend the cyber terrain associated with key mission systems. And we don't have any reserve positions affiliated with that cyber delta right now, but that is an area of growth that we're looking to build. We certainly have 17 delta positions at the field command level, not many, but again, looking to build, and certainly 16 Golf positions across the field command at SPOC are great opportunities for 17 deltas. I myself am a 17 delta, and this is my second tour in the space community, and I was brought in to support the space community in both cases because of my 17 delta experience and expertise. So there's definitely a need, and we want to continue to grow on both the active and the reserve side. General Lincoln?
All right, thank you. So as you know, as Combatant Command, we already have a relationship with U.S. Cyber Command, both in the supporting and supported role. We coordinate with their plans, and they definitely coordinate our plans. We also do joint targeting together. So when they targets, it is both with a space operations and cyber operations perspective. So there definitely is a lot of cross flow between the two combatant commands. I hope that answers your question. Over.
And I see a question from Colonel Poley asking to clarify a little bit more about what the future of Space Force is. Thanks for asking that, Tammy. We're working, as General Crider mentioned, working very closely with the DoD to consider the options and to integrate the space functions of the reserve component into the United States Space Force. But regardless of whatever that construct that's chosen by the leadership to integrate the forces, the space professionals will continue to be valued. The acquisition professionals will continue to be valued. Intelligence, cyber, it's all going to continue to be valued. The three of us, as well as the other leaders within the acquisition community and Space Force that are more closely involved with the direction that the decision is going, we're very committed to transparency. And as soon as we know more about, releasable information that we can share with you about it, once a decision has been made and the legislation to support the construct has been drafted, then we'll be able to share more with this group at that time. General Lincoln, General Crider, do you have some other thoughts on that question?
No, well said. I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Yeah, I think General Merritt captured it very well. That's kind of where we're at in the current state. In the meantime, there's great Air Force Reserve support to the space mission, and we will continue to provide that. And it's an awesome place to do some amazing things in support of this new service and skill sets and help grow and advance this critical area that is so important to our national defense. So we've got great reservists supporting the Space Force today. We'll continue to do that regardless of the future construct, and we welcome everybody, all newcomers to the space mission area.
Okay, what will promotions look like in the Space Force? Will officers still meet a board? And if so, what will that look like? And what about the enlisted force?
Well, so I mean, on the active side, yes. The Space Force will have promotions. Officers and enlisted members will meet the board. Yes, so they will do that. There are some changes that are being considered within the Space Force relative to on the enlisted side. There's been some discussion about integrating AFSCs or integrating specialties. That's still being debated and assessed and evaluated as the organization stands up and looks for more ways just to have maximum unity and integration of skill sets and capabilities. But there have been no fundamental changes along those lines at this time. It's just been a lot of discussion. That the primary focus right now is bringing people into the service. But as far as just a structure for boards and promotions along boards, it will follow a similar construct to the Air Force for the time being. On the reserve side, Air Force reservists will meet Air Force Reserve boards as per the normal current state, and we'll have opportunities for promotion based on their experience and impact and things that they've done and what they bring to the board and their demonstrated ability to perform at the next level.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Will the Navy, Marines, and Army members be transferring into the U.S. Space Force also?
yes, eventually. Right now, the focus has been on transferring Air Force positions and Air Force people into the Space Force to provide the initial complement of what we need for a military cadre within the Space Force. That will open up for Marine Corps and Army and Navy personnel to transfer into the Space Force, possibly as early as 21 is when that could start, where individuals from the other services could volunteer, just as Air Force members have all volunteered to transfer and re-enlist into the Space Force or commission over into the Space Force. So it is a very deliberate process of intra-service transfer, and that will open up to the other services. As I said, could be as early as 21 when that starts happening. We have to get all the initial Air Force volunteers over and then kind of see where we're at. But yes, that is the intent.
General Lincoln?
So just from General Dickinson's perspective, he is not interested in a combat command that is only supported by one service, being the Space Force. He feels that the value of Space Command is being supported by all the services. And as you know, some of the capabilities that are inherent to a specific service, for example, some comm to the Navy will stay with the Navy. Some comm will stay with the Army. General Dickinson is very much wants that the different perspectives and experiences from all the services, and he feels that that is what makes the combat command strong. Over.
General Merritt?
Yeah, ma'am, while you're talking a little bit about the command, Andrew DeBerry asked the question, will the Space Force work with international partners and can IMA support? So I'll address that and then I'll turn it back to you, General Lincoln. So yes, Space Force is they are going to be presenting forces to U.S. Space Command as well as the other geographic commands, which may need to have that liaison with the space community, which we've traditionally seen across the globe. So IMAs are currently supporting the efforts both at U.S. Space Comm as well as we have a large number of traditional reservists and AGRs working within the 9th Combat Ops Squadron out at Vandenberg, side by side with the Combined Space Ops Center folks. So in the Combined Space Ops Center, we've got a number of our foreign partners working side by side with us there. We actually have them in leadership positions, and the folks, both whether they're IMAs working on the staff out at SPOC or in U.S. Space Command, SPOC West, which we're dual-hatted, so we're also CISIC. Whether it's in that community or in the unit program, there's opportunity to engage that way. I think we will probably also in the future be doing a little bit more. The Space Force will be doing some foreign military sales. So I think we will see that shift that direction as well. So from the perspective of acquisition, there's always opportunity for IMAs. Even on the FMS staff, currently on the air staff, but that would eventually migrate over to the space staff to do that type of engagement as well. So those are more niche type activities. I want to say Colonel Mimpo Shu, for example, has been doing that for the Air Force, and we will see that same type of migration of job duties into the Space Force staff for very niche types of capabilities. General Lincoln, do you have some other thoughts on working with international partners?
Thanks, Jody. Actually, maybe you or General Crider or General Kelly will know whether or not SAF IA is going to continue supporting both space and air. So if that's the case, we already have reservists in SAF IA who support international relationships, international sales, especially dealing with space. For example, we have a payload, narrowband payload that's going on to a foreign satellite, and the foreign satellite's going to host it for us. A lot of that was negotiated by SAF IA. So if you're looking at that perspective, yes, I think there are opportunities for you to help with international partners. Once a year, we have an exercise called Global Sentinel. That's when all the countries across the world that have data sharing agreements with us for space situation awareness come together. And we talk about barriers, or we exercise through how can we break through barriers. So if you support a Global Sentinel exercise, that would be one way that you could work with our international partners. Over.
And I see Matt Tompkins put a little play there too. Sorry, ma'am, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'll just add that yes, to pile on to General Lincoln's comment, SAF IA will continue to support the Space Force as it has, and has folks, IMAs there that are space experienced people. And we'll continue to do so. And that is an important area where where IMAs can provide a lot of value. And then Joe Merritt mentioned some of the work in the acquisition side of the house. There is a office for international partnership at SMC today that will continue to grow. We see some growth in that area as well. And so therefore some possible IMA opportunities there in working with international partners in the acquisition and integration of space capabilities. Over.
Matt Tompkins, did you want to pipe in with what you know about SAF IA and partnerships?
Sure, ma'am. I mean, General Crider already covered it. Yes, SAF IA is definitely still going to have a space office, and that's going to continue. Obviously, Space Force is under the structure of the Secretary of the Air Force, so that'll be there. USSF also has a group called S5P for partnerships. There's no 6 running that shop, and then of course SMC was covered as the chief partnership. That's the office that I work at as a civilian. I am an overseas IMA, so I am normally stationed in just outside Tokyo. And so if you want to explore how to be like an overseas IMA, you can you can reach me. It's double the commitment, just so you know, and it is not simple to be an overseas IMA. If you live overseas already and you want to be an IMA, there's plenty of opportunities for that. So, for example, Air Force OSR wants people overseas. They're looking for PhDs mostly, for the record, but Air Force OSR is a great opportunity if you already are living overseas and want to get in some days there. So happy to chat offline if anybody has any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so if everyone's agreeable and if Colonel Cherry is still online, I'd like to hear a little bit about the space bullpen.
Okay, so this is an effort that we've taken to a couple of people inside SMC. The vice commander and the commander knows about this. I've talked to General Crider and General Merritt about the space bullpen. Really, the brain trust behind this is Lieutenant Colonel Chris Johnson and Colonel Chris Jordan. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some capital. We're trying to get some billets to try and grow a bullpen, if you will. Consider it just like a baseball bullpen, where we can have specialized talent sitting on the wing or sitting in the wings, ready to be plugged in at a moment's notice to some of our emerging requirements. The other thing that we're trying, or that we have to battle with, that is how do we bring this expertise on status? So we're kind of chasing that mythical unicorn, if you will, of how to convert working capital funds or 3000 series dollars into MPA day support. So before I get out too far in front of that, we're still running that to ground as far as the legal and as far as what kind of implications that has on already palmed $4. So I'll have more to talk about at the ARC Focus Days on that. But that's kind of the wave top view on what we're doing in the bullpen. Over.
Wonderful. General Crider, ma'am, we're about 7 minutes out. If you have any closing remarks.
Thanks for the opportunity. This is really important that we are able to reach out to you and you're able to reach out to us with your questions and concerns or thoughts and ideas and interests. Space is a growing opportunity space for the Air Force Reserve. As I mentioned earlier, Air Force Reserve leadership across the board, regardless of where we may be going with future component for the Space Force, very supportive of the space missions and growth in this area is supported, and we will continue to provide excellent support to those space missions, and we look forward to the expertise that all of you bring coming over from any number of mission areas that you've supported in the past. Please feel free to reach out to me directly if you've got specific questions that I can help answer or connect you to people that you are unable to connect to. We've got a phenomenal MA team across the Space Force. As I mentioned, the folks out at SMC, John Cherry on the phone, Michelle Idle at NRO, folks at SPOC helping us out today as that field command has stood up, General Merritt covering down on a lot of that great work that's going on there and collaborating very closely with General Cooper Murphy and Colonel Johnson. And then as we stand up STARCOM, that's going to be a whole nother growth area for training and readiness that's still out in front of us. So lots of really cool things happening, and I look forward to continuing to work with all of you. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be on the call today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. General Lincoln, do you have any final comments?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for inviting me, and just to echo General Crider, thanks for the collaboration. I do want to do a shout out to Colonel Idle, Colonel Cherry, Colonel Johnson, Brigadier General Merritt, all working together on the things that you guys had brought up, and that was just not having enough IDTs to do your job. So we put together a working group, and even though we were not fast enough to get an input for FY21, we will have AFRC POM for RPA days so that we don't have to have unpaid IDTs, that you actually can get paid for your work. And I want to thank you guys for bringing that up and letting us take that to leadership. We are still working on our talent management program, and we should be kicking things off fairly soon with our first meeting, and that will allow us to identify those key developmental positions where people will come back and forth between the Air Force and Space Force to support. And that's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. And General Merritt? Ma'am, your mic is off again.
If I could only find the mic button. So great. So I'll leave with just a quote and a thought. This is actually General Raymond's quote, and he said, "Agility, innovation, and boldness have always been the touchstone traits of military space forces. Today, we must harness these traits to pioneer a new space, a new professional body of knowledge." And really, in summation, the thing that I want to say is that I think that is this group of people that we're talking to today. You are hugely innovative, very flexible, very agile. And I think from a space perspective, from an acquisition perspective, from an accelerating change perspective, this group, what you're doing every day is so important. Whether you're in status or out of status, you're contributing, and that goes a long way to help the nation. So Connie and General Kelly, thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I'm always happy to do it, and I look forward to seeing how this great forum continues to evolve. It's been very good during COVID to stay in touch with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Passing over to you, General Kelly, for final remarks.
Well, I got a General Raymond quote from yesterday too. He said, "Go Tigers." You know, he's a Clemson guy. My daughter's there, so go Tigers! Beat Notre Dame. So my final message is not space related. My final message is in the Pentagon here, we're seeing a big rise in COVID cases. Now, I just want to stress to you, try not to become COVID weary and relax. Just try to be careful. I've noticed a lot more people coming in the building. I have a feeling they're going to probably put some more restrictions and go back to more max teleworking. But if you're in a classified environment, just try to be careful as much as you can. Everyone, the holiday season's around the corner. Hopefully the election will be determined and we'll have a nice holiday as best you can in a COVID environment. So I just ask everyone to stay safe, stay healthy, and keep on keeping on. Over.
All right. Thank you very much for participating today, General Crider, General Lincoln, General Merritt, and of course, General Kelly. And I appreciate everyone who signed on today. Just as a reminder, this was recorded and I'll post it on YouTube and send it out in my update next week, provided I don't have any technical challenges. Again, thank you very much and have a wonderful day.